Hey guys, so every year I generally rent some lanes and do a swim clinic prior to swim season starting for high schoolers, especially those of you who are new to the swim team. I thought this year, instead of doing that because I can't rent lanes due to the COVID problem, I would at least do a video covering swim technique and the elements of swimming that sometimes we just don't have a chance to talk about during our actual pool time because it's so loud in there, the focus isn't there. These are elements of swimming, of technique and focus that will actually make you faster if you're able to focus on them and apply them in the water during your swim set. So I thought I would take this time to try to discuss this kind of fun, but also hopefully will give you things that you can actually apply yourself to make your swimming better in all four strokes, including turns and starts. I wasn't a high school swimmer and I didn't swim in college. A lot of you know this. I was a late bloomer. I wasn't able to learn to swim until I got a coach in my 30s for triathlon. But that doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. I was blessed to have the opportunity to travel for 3.5 years with over 18 Olympians, and I was the sole photographer for a book series of 5 books called Swim Speed Secrets and Swim Speed Strokes and Swim Speed Workouts and Call the Suit. And anyway, we did these books so we could teach swimmers the elements of swimming fast. And so going from a non-swimmer background to getting to literally spend hours in the pool underwater with the Olympians who set the world records, as well as their coaches on deck for weeks on end, listening and being coached while they're being coached and understanding swimming from a completely different perspective. Not for lack of wanting to swim fast. I am now actually have qualified as a 50-some-year-old in nationals for butterfly, freestyle, and I am at some point. The reason I'm saying this is so you realize that even an old fat dude like me can learn to swim fast when you apply some of these things that we're going to go over. So if you have questions about this stuff, I'm completely open to answering your questions. Just text me or ask me on deck when we have time. But I'm going to try to cover the 6 simple elements that you can focus on to make swimming much faster. These aren't really secrets, they're just things that people overlook because they're not sure what exactly makes you fast at swimming. Some people are just naturally in tune with the water. The problem in swimming, unlike other sports, we can test our races in a fluid. If you don't understand fluid dynamics, you're not going to understand how to overcome the friction that's created by fluid. And that is the crux of the problem in swimming. Those people who swim fast have learned or identified solutions to moving through that fluid quicker with efficiency. So that has to be our key to swimming faster. And then we apply some other elements to make it even quicker. So what I mean by that is, so fluid is 100 times thicker than air. So instead of like running through the air, we just have to move our bodies as fast as we can. Therefore, it really becomes just on pushing back on the ground and using gravity to carry us forward and running. In the water, gravity is negated to a point where it really doesn't help a whole lot. It still has some effect, but it's not going to help you a whole lot. So what we have to learn to do is to make our bodies small, tight, and fast in the water. So the first element I'm going to cover swimming is body position. So everybody knows what a streamline is. So a streamline is when you have your hands over your head, your elbows are squeezing the back of your skull, and there is no space between your head and your arms. That is what we call a streamline. This is creating a shape that's as fast through the water as a ship, the forward part of a ship. So in streamline, that automatically sets up that forward momentum and the resistive friction to be able to go around that shape instead of hitting it and slowing us down. That's number one. I'm going to show you something here on a body position in freestyle, breaststroke, butterfly, or even backstroke if you reverse this. If your head is high in the water and you're looking forward, your hips will automatically drop and then your legs fall down below them. Therefore, you're making more of your body underwater where the water is much thicker. Remember, it's 100 times thicker than air. So all of that fluid you're trying to move over is now hitting you and slowing you down. And that does two things. Not only does it slow you down, but when you're trying to go fast, now your heart rate is much higher because you're having to work harder to overcome this resistive friction. As soon as you can learn to get your head down and look straight down or even slightly below your hips with your vision, your hips come to the surface, your feet follow, so you're a straight line on the surface of the water. Now all that resistive friction is minimized and goes past you, and then therefore all the work you're doing to create momentum with your arms pushing back is now easily gliding you forward without as much heart rate. Therefore you exponentially get faster, and your speed increases without your heart rate having to go up quite as much as that. So this is like a tugboat pulling a net through the water. It's going to slow you down. It needs a big engine, and it's really hard on it. That is like a canoe, flat and fast with big paddles, moving quickly with a lot less work. Make sense? Just for fun, sorry, I'm over here. Show you, these are a couple of the books that I was able to photo. These photos are mine. These are the Olympic gold medalists. Luckily I was able to work with a whole bunch of them. There's a couple more shots back here too that we will get to, but these are all pictures from the book series that I got to do called Swim Speed Secrets. Again, I don't make any money from the book. I was paid a flat fee, so I'm not trying to promote it to make my own bank account. I'm not one of those people. So I want to talk about that body position, and the reason I'm showing you this photo, this is Vlad Morozov. Vlad Morozov is the world record holder in the 50, and he's the third fastest person in the 100 in the entire world. And when I was filming this, you can see his body position. He's actually looking nearly straight to the bottom of the pool with his eyes. They're not looking forward. That's why there's a T and a line on the bottom of the pool. That's what you're supposed to look at. You don't need to look forward for the wall. One of the things that Vlad does very well, he's learned to extend from his core and his shoulder to the catch as far out in front of him as he can with his fingertips starting to point down. And he's also very good at pushing all the way through to almost his knee with his finish. Notice how high on the water he is and how flat and long his body is. He has a pretty immense kick, but the guy is super, super fast. You can look up his times. His name is Vlad, or Vladimir Morozov. He's a Russian kid, but he trains at USC. Super fast. Watch for him in the Olympics this year. He's already qualified. So that's number one, is body position. Trying to get that head down, chin tucked, your hips up, and you'll hear me say it all the time on deck. Head down, head down, head down, and that includes backstroke. When I say to bring your head back, I don't mean this, I mean this. You want to have a double chin on backstroke because you want to be able to lean on that back shoulder, little leaning into your mid-back and getting those hips up high. Alright, so the second thing in swimming, we're going to cover all the strokes real quickly. I just want you to make sure you watch this, and there will be a test. Someday on deck I'll ask you these questions. You don't want to look like an idiot. You want to know what I'm saying. So body position is the most important thing, just because it takes away the resistive friction you're fighting. So if you can minimize the resistive friction, think about it like wind blowing at you. The smaller you are in the wind, the faster you can move through it. I always think of the wind because I'm also a cyclist, and one of the things in biking is we try to minimize our body position so that the wind goes around us. The same thing in swimming is you want to minimize how big the front end of your swim stroke is so that everything goes around you, and the lower your head, the higher your hips, everything goes underneath you as well. Therefore, swimming gets easier. The second most important element in swimming is technique of what you're actually doing in the stroke. And we'll go over that one by one stroke, but there's basically two elements of stroke technique that become super important. It's the length of your stroke, and when I'm talking about length of your stroke, this is freestyle, butterfly, backstroke, and breaststroke. How far out you actually get the catch of the water, which means your elbows are up here, your fingertips are down here, and now you're using all this part of your arm from the elbow all the way to your fingertips as a grab on the wall of water you're trying to move yourself over. So in butterflies, what I'm kind of showing you here is you're going to grab that wall of water, and push off of it, just like you're pushing off of a wall that you're holding on to. It's the best visualization that I have found. So, breaststroke's the same thing. And you get out to that catch, and you go into your catch here, you don't want to be way out here where you can't hold that water. Everything has got to try to be as minimal and small and tight as you can do. So the wider you get in breaststroke, the longer it takes to recover and the harder it is on your body. So in breaststroke, they have found that if you can have a fast, big pull, keeping everything tight but faster rate and tighter head. Notice where my head is on breaststroke. There's no space, so all the water is going around my arms and my shoulders. You're going to catch and you're going to pop it and drop your head below your elbows. Breaststroke, your head should be lower than your elbows, just like in butterfly. If I'm doing butterfly, my arm's coming around. My head reaches the lowest point below where my hips would be before my hands hit the water. Then I catch and push. Your hand should track almost under your belly button until it makes this point and then push off. Those two elements and those two short axis strokes are super important. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're back. So backstroke, same thing as in freestyle. You want that upper core rotation, shoulder to your cheek at the catch for freestyle. Hand is catching the water, elbow is catching the high position. That's going to give you that big lever here of catching that wall to push off of it all the way through the back. Now backstroke is the same as freestyle. You want to get that catch, but now we're going to do it on our back. You're going to get that catch here where you enter the water, then you get to that catch, and then you're going to push off of it and turn your hips. So they both have a slight core rotation to them. Freestyle, backstroke are very similar. Your core and your hips rotate. Your hips don't rotate quite as much as your upper body, but that kick is fast and tight. It does not go like this. It's like this. Fast, not like this. The bigger the kick, the more water you have to move, the higher it drives your heart rate, the more oxygen you need, and then the faster you fall apart. So just remember on freestyle long axis strokes, freestyle and backstroke, length of stroke, close this gap up to the catch. Make sure your elbows point out, fingertips are pointing down. Your elbows are not down here, they're out here. If you notice the cover shot of Peter Vanderkay, 3-time gold medalist, 4-time silver medalist, his elbows are not down, they're up. That goes for every single stroke, especially backstroke. You don't want to be like this, you want to be like this. That this is in line, so that you can push it off fast and hard. Alright, so those are the basic elements of technique. Again, length per stroke, getting the elbow up, fingertips are facing down, getting that big catch, and the elbow is out, not backwards, okay? This is all holding water like a big canoe paddle. As soon as your elbow drops down, you've now lost the big grab of the water. And you want to push all the way through the back with power. And when I'm finishing or thinking of finishing now, I always focus on how hard I can push that water straight back like I'm pushing off a wall, and then end with a flick, and then a recovery arm fast recovery arm back to the catch. Alright, those are some simple elements of basic technique. We're going to go through each stroke. But what I also want to cover is the third element. If you don't understand this part of swimming, it's all an equation of length of your stroke multiplied by, what's the most important part of swimming fast? Length of your stroke, L, times what gives you your time or your PR. If I'm trying to get a PR, there's only one other element I can do to get my PR, which is your time. Length of stroke multiplied by what? It is the rate at which you tank that length of stroke. So if I have a 3-foot long stroke and I swim 10 strokes, that's 30 seconds per 50. If I try to take the length of my stroke, if I have a 3-foot length and then I take 32 strokes, I'm sorry, half of that rate, I'm going to drop my time to 15 seconds. That wasn't a good example. All I'm trying to say is, if you keep the length of your stroke with good technique together, the faster you move those strokes powerfully, or faster your time will be. It's straight across the board for all strokes. So one of the things that the coach from the University of Georgia showed me on deck working with distance and sprinters, he had a stopwatch in both hands. And so when a person was swimming, he was hitting the stop button every time the right arm would go in. So it would be like click and click. And that would tell you your stroke rate. So he was like, that person is at a 1.3 stroke rate. For them to beat their time, they're going to have to be able to hold that same exact stroke, but drop down to a 1.2 stroke rate. So when you're starting to swim and want to get faster, count your stroke by pushing back and throwing your arm and counting that rate. So sometimes what I'll do when I'm trying to swim open water, I'll go 1 and 2, 1 and 2. If I want to start to go faster, I'll pick up that count. I'll go 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And you really have to focus on throwing the arm to the catch and pushing back hard. That little trick of counting that rate in your head and getting used to doing it in practice really will help you to not only figure out your pacing, but also get you faster. And the same thing with breaststroke and butterfly. So if you're trying to swim faster, you want to build it up, build it up, build it up, and then you start to count it. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Make sure you get that deep breath in and deep breath out. Same thing with butterfly. 1 second. Okay, we're back. So again, the thing that's most in your control that you can start to work on when we're doing sprint work and stuff is getting that rate up without shortening up your stroke on all 4 of your strokes. And in backstroke, you just have to learn to transition that turn, the catch and the throw a little faster in backstroke. And that, especially leaning back and getting those hips up, can help. The secret to that really is keeping the kick small, dynamic, and fast. Once the kick is really small and fast, it's easy to pick up your rate. If you have a big, slow kick, it is timed with your arms. Just like in running, your arms move in time with your legs. So in swimming, if your legs are moving slow, your arms are going to move slow. The faster your legs move, the faster it allows your arms to move. It's all a tempo that's sort of innate in our movement, our physiology of our body. So the leg speed helps the arm speed. Don't forget that, especially right off of every wall. Get that kick going. So we're going to also talk about that kick being fast and tight, but powerful, keeping those ankles loose and pushing that water away. So it should be like a flow. You're pushing, 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 pushing water. You're not hinging your knee. You're like trying to be more fluid, like rubbery with your legs. That one thing really does help. And you'll see in some of these videos I'm about to show you how much that gives you thrust on the water. That's why we wear fins sometimes. It does that same sort of elastic, rubbery feel. I just want you to get used to shortening up the kick, but getting it fast and really dynamically loose. Almost like you're trying to shake paint off your toenails. That was how I was taught. The other part of that is your underwater. So when you leave the wall and you push off into that streamline, you're hiding your head between your arms, but you're also dropping your head lower than your hips when you push off. And that dolphin kick has to be big, big, fast, 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 and then get up and go. And that's for all strokes except for breaststroke. And on the breaststroke, it's you push off, nice tight streamline, one big kick, one big push, tight, 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 bringing your arms up, getting into that first catch, and getting on the surface and going fast. And driving everything toward the other tee on the far end of the other end of the wall, or other end of the lane. And the goal is get there fast and then get back tight. On open turns, we'll cover them. It's more dropping back, staying super tight, getting those knees up together, tight, 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 and then pushing off. And again, on your walls, you want your head to be lower than your butt when you push off the wall, and tight, squeezing as tight as you can. All right, so the last element in swimming is the fitness, the endurance and strength that it takes to put all those things together for a fast swim. Sure, you can have a fast turnover, you can have a fast kick, and you can have a really great technique with the hold of the water and the push off, but if you don't have the fitness because you didn't train it, you're going to fall apart at the 50 or even 25 I've seen, especially in butterfly and breaststroke. You guys know what I mean. If you're not fit and endurance-wise for swimming, you can swim a fast 50, you get to that 75 mark, I can't tell you how many times I've seen a race lost in the last 20 yards of a swim. So that's where that last element is up to you to do the work that we're setting out that's hard so that your fitness level can go up, okay? All right, I'm going to show you some quick videos